Welcome, everybody. I am really excited about this live stream from TrueFire Studios. One of my one of my best friends, one of my very favorite people, somebody that we've been working with from literally the beginning of TrueFire. Mimi Fox is here this week in the studio. We produced and are going to wrap up after this live stream 2 new projects, and we'll be not only talking about those projects, but I am going to beg Mimi to play as much as possible during this broadcast. And with that, let her end her nice little piece there, and we'll start digging in. Hey, I know those are octaves.
Hey, Mr. Smarty Pants. Yes, they are octaves.
So we were talking about, and I don't know how many people know this or not, but I mean, literally, Mimi, you were one of the very first to risk your reputation, risk your career, and try this crazy TrueFire interactive thing way back when.
And may I say now, in hindsight, what a smart gal I was, because boy, has this turned out well for me and, hopefully for all of the students that have picked up my courses, the courses that are really our babies, really.
They really are.
Yeah.
And we were talking yesterday, the very first thing we did was Jazz Anatomy.
Jazz Anatomy, which you came up with the title. We used an online thesaurus, and remember we were trying to figure out, you're sort of taking everything apart, nuts and bolts. Here's a minor 251, a major 251. It's really sort of the structure of jazz. What is it? It's sort of the body of jazz. It's the anatomy. You came up with it.
Yeah. It worked because you took on that one. What did we do? 251s.
Yeah, we did minor. A minor 251, major 251, minor blues, major blues, and modal.
Modal.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what we did for that course.
And then neither one of us really knew how it would be received. And it went through the roof, didn't it? You
know what was amazing, Brad, is I remember asking you, we were hanging out after we finished the course, and I said, so Brad, how do you think this is going to do? And you said, well, we'll get, we'll unload a few hundred. And now it's closing in on, it's thousands. It's now 6,000 or 7,000, maybe
crazy.
More. Crazy.
And not only that, we did that course, that first course. We didn't even have a proper studio, remember? We
shot
had that
it little
in
tiny,
the mezzanine.
Yeah.
We had to turn the air conditioning off because of the sound. There were hot lights. There were,
I had on a headset that was like from the 14th century.
And Buddy, my dog, was laying at your feet. Remember that?
Yes. Brad had an incredible chocolate lab named Buddy, who we had an instant falling in love.
Right at your feet.
Yeah, Buddy sat at my feet the entire course. I know. Curled up like a little rug. And you said, Meme, we can't have Buddy in there. And I said, I'm not doing the course unless I've got Buddy.
And he literally sat at your feet. And so the other thing about Jazz Anatomy is, this was way back. This was... I don't even want to...
It's like 2005, 2004, 2005.
Probably
like
2004 or 5.
Yeah.
And we were shooting in SD, not HD, with a black background. We didn't have all the cool composites or things
not
like that.
Any of the bells and whistles.
But, we were, just like we were saying the other day, people still love that course. Still... it's crazy. And then, how many more courses have we done since?
I'm going to say 9 now because of some of the newer ones that we've done in the past few years. Because I did the initial 4. It was Jazz Anatomy, graduated soloing, flying solo, and then jazz performance. And those were the first 4. And then I was so busy touring, and we kept trying to find a time, but I couldn't do it. And so it was a long gap before then I came back, and I think I've done, I don't know, Tommy probably has, or somebody has it up right now online, but I believe we've done 10. Is that right? Have we done 10?
Maybe the guys can check on that for us.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I promised everybody that we do little talking and a lot of playing.
Okay.
And I think in this case, that makes the most sense because you came in with 2 projects.
Right.
The first project we did was on electric.
Right.
Jazz improv edition of Essentials. And Essentials is, let's just dig right in. We're gonna take a variety of feels, right? There were
Right.
10 different feels.
Right.
Sambas.
Different
blues.
feels, different grooves, different keys, and a few different songs that I play through the changes to the song.
Yes.
So, yeah, we got a lot of different cool things happening on it.
And it's not only, I think it has like double purpose as we were going over the, kind of the blueprint, the curriculum for it. Like, jazz guitarists, they gig or they jam. They're, somebody's going to call out one of these feels.
That's right.
No
That's right.
doubt. Right?
Absolutely.
And, while, if you're playing ensemble, right, you're going to be playing rhythm. You're going to be comping most of the night.
That's right.
And then someone's going to turn to you and say, okay, hey, take a couple choruses.
Right.
And you have to feel comfortable about soloing over a samba, soloing over
absolutely.
a blues, soloing over rhythm changes, stuff like that.
That's right.
And so while, the solos we filmed, everything's going to be tapped out, synced to the video. People are going to learn those solos note for note. They're going to borrow some of your lines and licks and approaches. But this is really about, somebody coming home and just, integrating this into their kind of practice schedule will build their confidence that no matter what gets called out on stage, they're going to kind of know what to do and feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's play something from Jazz Improv edition of Essentials.
Okay.
Want to do all blues?
Yeah. Why don't we do? This is the changes to all blues. It's a must have for all jazz players, and a lot of blues players dig it too because it's a cool tune.
Absolutely.
So let's have at it.
Stage is yours.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, just brief commercial break. Want everybody to know we love to know where you're hailing from. We've already got people chime in, and we got 108 people already online here. Obviously, Mimi fans, jazz fans, folks from Northern Illinois, upstate New York, McKinney, Texas, Ottawa, Canada, the Netherlands, Brooklyn, Mexico City, all around the world for you, memes.
Oh man, it's so cool. It's so amazing.
Oh, Zoran, that's from, is it Rajčica, Croatia?
Wow.
I probably pronounced that wrong, but thank you all. We love when you tune in, and we also love when you ask questions. So the more questions you
guys,
give us,
please shoot me some questions. I love
Mimi
to.
loves the questions.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would ask you to do, please, help spread the love. There's a thumbs up right underneath the video. If you would click that, we'd very much appreciate it. And, right after we complete this live session goes into a kind of a pre-recorded state on YouTube. So anyway, while people are chiming in and getting their questions together, let's play another tune.
All right.
From Jazz Improv Essentials.
Yeah.
What do you feel like?
Let's see.
Stella?
No, how about let's do the major blues. We got the major blues up.
I got the major blues. You ready to hit that one?
Yeah.
Here we go.
1, 2, Jewish kids rock.
Ready for your first question?
Yeah, let's bring it on.
All right. So Jonathan asks, Mimi, what jazz course, what do you recommend for an advanced beginner?
Maybe, well, if you want to sort of work on your soloing, I would recommend the graduated
solos.
soloing. Yeah,
Yes.
graduated solos, because that's going to it takes you from sort of a basic level on different songs and then intermediate is sort of like basically off the melody. Oh, I got so excited. Basically off the melody, and then more a more intermediate level and then a more advanced level. So
Yes.
I would say that.
So-
But people can also go to either my website or the TrueFire website and start poking around, looking at different look at the intro to the courses and see what really strikes your fancy. Because like I said, and I know now, I don't know, maybe Tommy has it up. I think we've done 10, and with these two will be 12, but I'm not sure.
I think
Got-
with these two, we end up with 11.
Okay.
Sweet.
Right in
Yeah.
the middle.
So graduated solos, I think that was number 2 course we did.
That
wasn't
was
it?
the second course, yeah.
Right, and you're right. We did 3 courses, a accessible one. Then we stepped it up a little bit, and then you pulled out the stops.
Yeah, kind
right?
of, yeah.
So also,
But they were all recognizable standard tunes. Like we built it off of All of Me and A Train, common pieces that we played off of.
so would you recommend learning, picking out your favorite jazz standards and learning to play the melody?
Oh, absolutely. The melody is, just sacrosanct. It is the early jazz players. That's what they do, is they improvise off the melody beautifully and perfectly. And there wasn't a lot of fancy notes and all these complicated different scales and harmonic ideas going on. But yeah, the melody is always where it's at. Always.
So is there, I remember you talking about this in one of these courses, about how they do exactly what you said. They learn the melody, then they embellish the melody, and then they, when they're soloing, you sort of hear the changes happening.
Right.
It respects the melody.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I'm soloing, Brad, and I think all jazz players would say this, but I think it's true regardless of genre, I'm always hearing the melody, and in my case, if it's a standard, I'm hearing the melody and the lyrics in the back of my head, so there's sort of different layers of consciousness, if you will, musically happening. There's the original melody and the lyrics of the song, and there's if I'm playing Autumn Leaves, I'm hearing the original Johnny Mercer. I'm hearing the falling leaves drift by my window, the autumn leaves of red and gold. I'm hearing that in the back of my head. I'm hearing dum-ba-dum-bee. I'm hearing the chords. I'm hearing a bass line. So it's all happening simultaneously. And then you build your solo logically, but that's why you can reference the melody in your solo, and that's always a hip thing to do. But yeah, the melody is always there. It's always there somewhere when you're playing.
And there's a lot of jazz standards that have very complicated melodies, and others at high tempos.
Right.
But there's a lot of standards that have really accessible
Absolutely.
melodies, right?
Yeah. Well, because you're talking about, the jazz composers and then the Great American Songbook are really, two different things. In the Great American Songbook, we're talking about, the Gershwins, who I like to pretend were my relatives, I wish, and Cole Porter and Rodgers and Hart. And these are, the Great American Songbook, all these standards, whether it's Autumn Leaves or Stella by Starlight, these were all, melodies that were the popular music of the day. And so, yeah, these melodies are totally singable. And then what you do, in jazz, we use that as a springboard for our improvisational explorations, but melody is always there.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's play another tune.
Okay.
I promise them, because you know me, I can go on forever.
Yeah.
I don't
Although
think
I would like to say this is the time for people to ask questions that always have questions for me. Now is a good time. So if you got them, send them on.
Yes. Let's play with.
What do we got?
Okay, here's one.
Yeah, sure.
But wait, you want to answer a question?
Sure,
Or
let's
just one
take
popped
it.
in? So this one is from Roswell. How to best develop your ear. In other words, if someone plays a G chord and you can't tell that it was a G chord, how do you develop that facility?
Yeah, a lot of that. Roswell, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah,
Roswell.
Roswell, that is just, it's a great question, and the best way to develop your ear is really to use it all the time, and there's two ways to do that. There's playing all the time and listening to what you're playing and what your fellow musicians are playing, and trying to repeat it back, and the other thing is actual transcribing, which always which can scare students off. It's like, oh, you mean I've got to take that whole solo? But think about it. I don't know about you folks, but when I learned how to play the guitar, I learned from listening to the Beatles record and trying to figure it out and then play it, and in a way that was transcribing. So if I was trying to work out, my older cousin, I taught myself to play from listening to the Beatles Rubber Soul album, and so I would sit for hours when I was 10 and try to work out what are they playing on Michelle. So. And that's a great way to train your ears to actually sit with the recording. The great thing, like with TrueFire, is that now you are able to actually slow down what someone's playing and keep the pitch.
Yep.
In the old days, you could slow it down, but it was always out of tune. It was,
Warbly.
if the line was, it would be, it was really tricky to do that. So now you've got TrueFire has all these amazing tools that you can use. You can try to play along with me. You can slow it down. You can take me out and play with the rhythm section. I mean, it's amazing what you can do now.
We're building up more questions.
Okay.
But play.
Okay. For you, I shall play. What do we got? Tom, you're going to do Stella?
Yeah, I got Stella queued up.
Stella.
What's Mimi's favorite Gershwin piece?
Oh, what's my favorite Gershwin piece? Someone to Watch Over Me, for sure.
Good.
For sure.
All right, are we doing Stella?
Stella coming at you.
Stella.
Under the stars with Stella.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2.
So this course, again, our approach in the essentials kind of curricular format, right, is we don't spend a lot of time on, all of the nuances. It's more like, okay.
It's kind of like
Let's play.
Let's jump in
Jump in
and
the
start
deep
playing.
end of the pool.
That's
okay?
it.
But I have to repeat what I think is brilliant about this particular course for jazz guitarists in particular is the various feels, and learning and getting comfortable with 2-5-1 major, 2-5-1 minor, that Latin or samba feel.
Right.
There's always going to be some blues, right?
Right, and there's a funk. We've got basically, I mean, we have, just like you said, 2-5-1, major and minor. We've got just playing over one chord. I've got like one chord over like a G7 for a gazillion years to talk about all the different
That's
cool
right.
things.
That's the first one in the
That's
series,
right. And then we've got like a funk. We've got a funk thing over one chord.
you got a minor groove.
We got we've got a minor blues, a major blues, and then we got Take the A Train, changes to all blues, and changes to Stella, and rhythm changes. So we've just covering
Really
the gamut from one chord to complicated harmonic structure.
So it's sort of like whatever your practice schedule happens to be, the frequency or the length of it, work this course in. Play over one or two of these tracks, and in time, you will gain the confidence that if someone calls out a blues, or you encounter a lot of 2-5-1 majors or minors, which you are going to encounter thousands of times, you're going to feel a little more comfortable. I will share my own little trick at TrueFire with your stuff, right? What I do is, I really don't even attempt to learn one of your solos from beginning to end. I go and find a line or a phrase.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
I loop it, I slow it way down, and I'm building very, very slowly. It's been 20 years now, but that's how I grow my vocabulary. And so I'll find you playing something over 2-5-1, let's say minor, right? Slow way down. And if I can't play all the notes, I delete a couple of the notes.
That's right.
And it kind of gets me in the ballpark.
Right. Well, this also ties in with the fellow that had asked earlier, one of the questions about how to train your ear. Jumping right into the essentials is fabulous ear training, because if you do what you just said, Brad, and you loop something, you loop a phrase, that phrase is going to be singable for you. It'll become part of your vocabulary.
Very
and
cool.
That's what you want. That's the ear training.
Excellent. Okay, commercial break. I want to point out, again, underneath the video, if you're chatting with us on YouTube version of this stream, there's a link, Mimi Fox on TrueFire, okay? That will take you to Mimi's, educator page where all of her courses are featured and everything else she's got going on. And I can also tell you we are in the high holiday season. And if you want to stoke up your Mimi Fox library, number one, if you don't have Jazz Anatomy and graduated solos, okay, it's got a black background, but we got a lot of those learning tools in there. You can pick them up very, very affordably. So that link will take you to Mimi's entire library. Now, also, thumbs ups. We need those thumbs ups. We've got 120 some odd people online. Take 2 seconds, go over to the thumb, click the thumbs up. That really helps Mimi kind of share this experience with a million other people, and it's a way for you to express, like I express my gratitude, your gratitude that Mimi's doing this live stream and keeps pumping out incredible courses on jazz. Okay, question. Ready for another question?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you're going to love this one. Okay. This is from, I have a feeling you might know this person. This is from Ed Dunsavage.
Yes, he is my former manager and now a dear friend.
Okay. Well, he's obviously a jazz aficionado. Okay?
He is. He's a good player.
Because he wants to know who your favorite was, Mike Nesbitt or Peter Tork.
Hands down, Mike Nesmith. Guy, this really dates me, and Brad, it dates us, but this is a different generation, guys. Okay, here's the deal with the Monkees, the TV show. I was a little girl. I was 9 and 10 when the show first, came out, and then I have friends that are a little younger, and they saw the reruns of it. So. And if you don't know what we're talking about, this refers to the band that was put together for a TV show called the Monkees. And one of the first songs that I ever wrote when I was 10 is called I Love You, Mike. And that says it all. It was for Mike Nesmith. There's no way that I'm going to play and sing it for everybody on this live stream. But I have promised or threatened that I will do it someday. Anyway, so definitely Mike Nesmith. I was that was my inspiration for wanting to play the guitar. I said to my mom, Mom, look at Mike, isn't he cool? And he's got this little cool green felt hat, and he's playing all this stuff. You got to get me a guitar. And so definitely Mike. Peter was cool. And I liked Mickey. He was funny, and he, and whatever. And of course, Davey was the heartthrob, but it was Mike for me all the way.
Well, Ed knew you'd get a laugh out of
that.
Yeah, so
he's right.
Thank
he's
you,
right.
Ed. We needed that here. Couple more quick questions for you.
Sure.
Ed Day says, Mimi is awesome! ! I am mostly self-taught. What would Mimi suggest I focus on first, second, third, as far as her TrueFire lessons to help put to use and build on what I know? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know what he does know. What does he know so far?
Okay, tell you what, Ed, you answer that question, and then we'll get back to you.
Exactly.
Here's another question from David from Nigeria. Says, hey, Mimi, you know David from Nigeria?
Unless it's a David I knew from here that moved to Nigeria, no.
Could be. You answered the Gershwin piece. John wants to know, you have a book on arpeggios. Any thought of putting that material on a TrueFire video?
Actually, funny you should ask that. I do. There are a number of TrueFire courses I have where I go into arpeggios, but probably the one that I go into them the most extensively would be the Jazz Song Practice Playbook. Ooh. Because in talking about how to build a song and understand how to solo step by step by step, I have a complete focus for all of the lessons in that series on learning your arpeggios up and down the neck. And so with a companion book like my Mel Bay book, Guitar Arpeggio Studies on Jazz Standards, good team. But yeah, definitely pick up that TrueFire course, which I had a great time doing. And it's called the Jazz Song Practice Playbook, because I actually go through, that's one of the most common questions I get. Is how do I practice? Because people get very overwhelmed when they first get into jazz. I've had, guys, classical players, flamenco, great rock players, and they're maybe getting their feet wet with jazz, but they can already play. They're good musicians, but they want to know what they can do and how to practice. And in that course, I go through it step by step with melody, scales, arpeggios, chords, and then soloing.
That was also highly popular. And you can use that link to have a look at that.
And that's one of the newer courses that was not shot.
We had all the bells
where
and
we
whistles
actually had air conditioning.
That's right,
working.
and glass and a producer.
And a glass and a producer.
A question we get all the time from jazz students is, I'm learning my arpeggios, but every time I use them, it sounds like I'm just running arpeggios. How do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Brad, that's the same thing with scales. People say, I practice my scales, but when I go to use them, it sounds like I'm playing my scales. Part of that is because you need to spend time developing a vocabulary. So, for example, let's just take a B-flat 7 arpeggio. Now, if you're playing a song, you got a blues, and you just go... Right, it's like you're typing, right? I mean, that just sounds like the arpeggio. So what you have to do is you have to milk those notes and put some feeling into it, maybe slur some of the stuff. Check this out. I'm not even going to add any passing tones or any colors. That's straight arpeggio. Well, I added the 9 there for a second, but so you've got to make it musical. You've got to. What a lot of folks don't realize, the same thing that you're doing with your pentatonic or blues scale, you can do with the arpeggios. If you're used to playing a blues phrase, now you just have to take the same idea and make it sing. It has to be lyrical. It has to be musical. That's just all arpeggio. But I'm adding cool rhythms, and I'm getting into it, and I'm doing some sliding, and some slurring, legato, phrasing, maybe some staccato. And how does that affect the sound? So that's just one arpeggio, and you want to do that with everything that you're playing. As soon as you get it under your fingers, then you have to, that's sort of, that's learned and it becomes a subconscious thing. And then you just, in a playing situation, you want to make it come alive, and that's up to you.
So now demonstrate adding some passing tones and those
Let's do
other
it. Let's say
embellishments.
this is what we did.
But arpeggio-centric.
Yeah, arpeggio-centric. So again, I mean, this is something I learned from Joe Pass. Everywhere you are, you have the whole harmonic universe. Here's a B flat. Here's an old B flat 7 bar chord. Here's jazz B flat or B flat 13. Doesn't matter. We're in this 6th fret area, right? We got our B flat 7. Right? Or you can play it this way. So you can play the D there or here. We got the arpeggio. Now maybe I'll add the 9. So I'll add the 2nd degree. To do that, you have to know where the 9s are. Well, here are the roots. So then the 9s are going to be just a whole step above. Okay, so I'm going to play a phrase using just the arpeggio and the 9. Let's get something like this. So there I'm adding the, now I'll add the 6. So there, that's the kind of thing that you want to do. And then after you've added some of the colors, you can start doing whole passing tones, doing more chromatic notes that are outside of the key. So there I'm adding, and I'm still working with the basic arpeggio. The basic arpeggio, I see the chord shape, and I'm adding, notice that I added some blues lines, some bluesy feeling as I was playing the chromatic stuff, because as I've often said, and people that have my courses know this, one of my, early mentors always said to me, Mimi, it never sounds bad to play the blues, which I translate from a positive perspective and say it always sounds good to play the blues. But particularly if you're going to start doing some dissonant stuff and start adding some chromatic passing tones, when you anchor it in the blues, you can't go wrong. You can't lose with the blues. And remember, blues is the common mother for jazz and rock.
Yeah.
There would be no jazz or rock or hip hop or funk without the blues.
Very cool.
That's our indigenous art form where everything started.
Great answer to a great question, and a very common question. And I want to reiterate that as soon as this live is over, this is available forever in our YouTube channel for free. And you just got, I thought, an incredible lesson and answer to how do you make arpeggios sound more musical.
Yeah.
So go find that section in this when it's live and work on those things. Okay, let's do one more piece from the electric.
Okay.
And then we'll talk acoustic.
Let's do the samba thing. Tommy, let's pull up A-Train.
You got it. Just give me 1 second.
Uno, dos, uno.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, memes. Allie pointed out in the thread, you did a practice sessions project here, jazz modes and arpeggios. Remember
Oh,
that?
that's right.
That would be very good, too.
Yeah, jazz modes and arpeggios, right. That also goes into great. We've done so many courses that now I've lost track of some of them. And yes, for someone that was asking about arpeggios and making them more musical, that would also be a good course to pick up for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, put the electric down, and I'm going to start talking about this is really cool. So I would have to say maybe a year ago, Mimi started telling me about, her very fine acoustic guitar, which she will tell you about, and how she's been playing it quite a bit, writing solo acoustic arrangements, which I think is really quite fresh, and the sound is killer. So the second course this week, let me make sure I remember what we call it, solo acoustic guitar playbook.
Yeah, solo
Right.
jazz acoustic guitar. Or
Solo jazz
Yeah.
acoustic guitar play, something like that.
Yes,
it's
okay.
got those words in it.
Okay, cool. Which is what it is. Yeah.
But this is, I almost thought we should call this like an edition of anatomy because of the way you teach it, right?
Yeah.
So there's 5 tunes. 3 of them are jazz standards, which is important. So you're familiar with the jazz standards. Most people are. And then 2 of them are Mimi's original songs, okay? And this is the kind of thing where, put the electric down, put your arch top down, send the band home, okay? Pick up an acoustic guitar, okay? And learn how to play some solo acoustic pieces.
Yeah.
And if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of videos of you doing just that, blowing minds, okay? So play something, and then we'll tell them how we structured how you structured the course.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay.
So this is I'm going to do one of the standards that I think people will recognize. And I also want to save the original pieces for when people purchase the course and actually
fine.
dig into it, because I think that'll be a nice surprise for people.
That's fine. And one of them is off your latest record, too.
That's right. That's
it's
right.
a little teaser.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. It's a teaser. So I think I'd like to do the Cole Porter. I'm going to go ahead and go for Night and Day.
Okay, cool. That's just great, Mimi. So, who wouldn't, whether you play jazz or not, who wouldn't want to be able to do that? You know, just pick up a guitar.
Anybody
play
can
a
do it.
piece.
Just don't have a life for 20 years. Just sit by yourself with a cat in a little studio and a hot plate, practicing for 6 hours a day, and everything else will fall into place.
Easy peasy, right? You may have noticed that most of that, there was a little bit of hybrid picking in there, but most of it was all with a pick, right?
Right.
And, you know, solo acoustic guitar arrangements tend to be fingerstyle-like, you know, which, you know, many of us just don't have those kind of chops. But, you know, I would suggest that even a intermediate player could take this lesson and start to develop these kind of chops and a repertoire of pieces that they can play on acoustic guitar by themselves.
Absolutely.
So talk about how you present, you know, there's a set of lessons for each of these 5 tunes.
Yeah.
Describe that.
Okay. Well, what I've done is I've taken 5 tunes, as you've mentioned, 3 standards that I'm really excited. 3 of my favorites: Night and Day, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing, and Take the A Train. And so what I do is basically I play the song. Well, the song is sort of the culmination. And what I do is try to give people insights, deep insights into how I did the arrangement, came up with the arrangement, and then played the melody with the chords and worked that in together, understanding the harmony, and then finally soloing. And so, for example, let's say we were doing Night and Day. I first play the melody for people and explain the importance of learning the melody, and then how I harmonize it with the chords, and talk about that. Then I talk about the harmony of the song, basically what chords are being played and what's going on with the underlying harmony. And then finally, I talk about different soloing ideas you can use: scales, arpeggios, etc., different ideas, some guitaristic things, open strings, you know, harmonics. All of these things can be integrated when you're playing solo guitar, and should be, because they flesh out the sound and they make it sound, you know, more like there's more than one person playing. So those are great guitaristic kind of techniques to have. So basically that's what I do. So, and then finally people get to listen to the actual recording of me playing, where I'm just going for it. And what's really cool is that TrueFire has these amazing tools that you can use, so that you might decide that you've got a passage in Night and Day, like you were alluding to, Brad, got a passage, and you say to yourself, I want to get that. I think I can do that. That's going to work for me. So you can loop it, you can slow it down, you can eventually work up to the point where you're playing along with me for that passage. And then, you know, it's serving so many purposes. It's, you know, it's getting it under your fingers, it's getting it into your ears, so it's great ear training. And most importantly, it's starting to give you a vocabulary. And people often ask me, well, Mimi, how do you get your own sound? How do you sound like yourself? Well, obviously it takes a long time, but some of it is that you have to first sound like someone else before you have anything of yourself to sound like.
Right.
It's kind of like, you know, you have to get these, you have to really, it's just like if you're going to write, you know, the great American novel, you better read some great writers, you know, whether it's James Baldwin or Joyce Carol Oates or Toni Morrison or Saul Bellow or whoever, you know, you want to know what a great writer can be and then go from there. And it's the same thing, you know, as you're learning to, you know, solo. And, you know, and also I think with all the different cameras, for solo guitar in particular, what I think is so great about this course, Brad, is that TrueFire has these different cameras. So, you know, you can look at my right hand and see my interesting picking technique. You can look at the left hand and zone in on what I'm doing. And, you know, there's just so many great tools available. I wish I had had them when I was first learning.
So
yeah, we all do.
You
those
and
of
me
us.
both.
Yeah, those
But-
of us that grew up watching the monkeys.
It's true. It's really designed so that you can learn at your own pace, you know, dial in whatever tempo, work on whatever line. And, you know, in the case of all of Mimi's courses, you know, it's all about building your vocabulary and then making that vocabulary your own, right?
That's right.
let's take a few minutes and talk about that Taylor guitar
Yes.
and Taylor guitars. They're like incredible. They're
You know,
just-
I have to say, so what happened, I would just tell people briefly, but a few years ago, when I got ready to do my first all-acoustic project, I had an old Guild, which I loved, but it was a little chewed up from the road and, you know, just it was just beaten up. And I thought, you know, it would really be nice to have, you know, a new acoustic. And so, you know, my manager at the time, we were talking about different ideas and different, you know, because I always like to be involved with a good company that I feel like can support me, and also that whose values are, you know, aligned with mine. And so through process and friends and different connections, I was able to connect with Taylor, and actually went down to their factory and met their artist relations head, Tim Godwin, who's, shout out to you, Tim, I love you, you're a great guy, and watch that pickleball. So, you know, I played, when I went down that day, I played 1 million guitars. He's like, well, which one calls to you? And as it turns out, I got a K14 CE, which is very similar to this. This is a K24, but my, you know, my K14 has a spruce top, and this is all koa. So you can see how beautiful it is, all koa wood and the beautiful abalone inlay, you know, throughout.
It's gorgeous.
It
guitar.
really is. And
they sent that here for you to play on this
Yes,
project.
because
right?
I could not travel. Traveling with one guitar is enough, and so I needed my
know.
electric. So, but yeah, so, and it's got the cutaway, which for me, as everybody knows, you know, I like to play up here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a beautiful guitar, and you know, I can't say enough good things about Taylor. They also
We can't either. I mean,
the company is fantastic. The way that they deal with sustainable, you know, woods and replanting and everything that they're doing, it's pretty fabulous. And so, I've been really fortunate to be on board with the company, and they've taken good care of me, and I've tried to be a good ambassador for them. But I love the guitars. They play really easy. You know, they're really easy to play, and they're very even sound up and down the neck. There's no dead spots, and these guitars just sing. They all sing.
no, and they play that way right out of the box. It's
Yeah,
like you
this
don't
is,
have
you
to-
know, this is the first time that I played
That's
this
right.
particular guitar. I checked out this model before, and it right away it felt really comfortable.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Taylor,
Yeah,
for
thank you.
being such a good friend of the Fire and so many of our artists over all these years. I mean, we've been working together with them for, gosh, 20
Well,
years.
and Taylor also has great taste in artists that they pick to, you know. No, they're really super
They do
guys.
have great taste in everything. And in fact, you know, one of their lead designers, David Hostler, opened up a shop 2 blocks
7C
from here.
Music,
7
right?
C's Music.
Yeah.
You're just a beautiful cat on every level. We do a ton of stuff with him. And there are I just bought a 12-string Taylor.
Oh,
but
I've got a nice
I
12
couldn't
string.
resist.
Yeah.
I have more Taylors than probably Taylor has now, you know. Okay, listen, we're running out of time. I know you still have some stuff to do, but let's answer some more questions.
Sure,
shall we?
let's do it.
All right. Let's see. Mimi, talk about, Susan asks, how you stay out of the way when you're playing in an ensemble. And, you know, stay out of the way of what other people are doing, other members in the band.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that. Let me switch for a second. You know, a lot of it is just a bit. Was it from Susan?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of it is really listening. So if there is no piano, I mean, some of it depends on whether there's a piano in the ensemble. I'm going to assume there is. And so if there is an ensemble, there's a lot of give and take between the guitar and the piano, because you have to decide who's going to comp, for example, behind a saxophone or trumpet solo or behind the vocalist. And so, you know, some of that is things that you can talk about ahead of time, and some of it is things that happen on the bandstand with experienced players, where you can just sort of look at each other, and that means if I have a piano player look at me after they've been comping behind something, they'll look at me. I'll know that when the trumpet comes in, they're ready for me to take over the comping. But it depends on the musicians you're playing with and you know, what the pieces are. But it's really a process of using your ears, and you know, bottom line is every musical situation is different. And I always walk into each musical situation trying to assess how I can improve upon it and make it, make it a really good experience for everybody.
Good answer. Jorge or Horten Music, what would you recommend to get better with your tempo and to play better in the pocket?
In order to play really, comfortably and lock into the pocket, first of all, play with a great rhythm section. So be sure you have a really great bass player and drummer that you're playing with. And this is what's fabulous, whether it's live or with the TrueFire courses. On all the courses that I've done, and I'm sure that I can speak for the other artists, I have killer rhythm sections with me that are just nailing this stuff. We don't use click tracks. It's jazz. We don't need no click tracks. They are just like, boom, laying it down. And so my job is to really just try to lock in with them and with the groove. At home, in your own practicing, and with TrueFire courses, use a metronome for your own practicing at home so that you can really have a good sense of basic time. And then use the TrueFire courses. All of the courses, I think, including like in the jam, have an opportunity for people to really lock in and play with me, trading solos with me with the rhythm section going on. That's a great experience.
Another course comes to mind, the performance course. Remember when we shot that with your trio?
Yeah. Or jazz trio comping, which really delves into rhythm and locking in.
Yeah. And one more question from Edward Johns. Mimi has one of the most fluid, bluesy styles in jazz guitar, like Bird in the way she links blues and chord tones. Did you make a deliberate choice to learn to play this way, or are these your influences?
I think it was more of an organic process for me, but I would have to say yes and yes to both of Ed's, both of what he was saying, because I transcribed so much Charlie Parker, Bird, so much Coltrane, and so that it becomes a part of you. And I also happen to love the blues because I don't, that's my personal musical aesthetic, but I just don't see how you can be an effective jazz player without really being rooted in the blues.
Right.
Cool.
Last question.
Sure.
Greetings from Germany from Ralph. Thank you for your inspiring music and TrueFire courses. What is the way you look at the fretboard when you improvise? Like, do you have a visual, is there a visual reference thing happening?
Sometimes you'll notice when I'm playing, I close my eyes but that doesn't mean that I'm not seeing the guitar. I'm actually seeing it in my mind's eye. So if I go back, if I was doing 9, I could see, I knew I was here, right, on the 5th fret.
Yeah. So with your eyes closed, are you aware of where you are
yes,
on the
I'm
fretboard?
aware of where I am on the neck. And so basically, but if you're going to, for most people, they can certainly use your eyes when you're playing. I like to close my eyes because it takes me deeper into the music sometimes, but everywhere I am, I think that the deeper answer to the question would be that I'm seeing, as Joe Pass taught me, I was very fortunate to have one very, very long lesson with Joe Pass many years ago, and he basically said to me that, if I'm here, let's say I'm seeing a C major 7, I have everything C major 7 here. I have a bass line. So I've got a bass line, I've got that there, I've got the arpeggio, everything. I've got the scales. Any kind of scale I might want to use, and I've got the melody of a song. So everything is and that would happen everywhere on the neck. So therefore, when you're playing, the whole harmonic and melodic, the chords, the bass lines, the single lines, are all there wherever you are. So you could put my finger on any note as a starting point, and I'll be able to turn it into a phrase in whatever key you want me to do. Brad, you could say to me, Mimi, 7th fret, G string. So that's going to put me here on this D, and then you could pick a key, any key, B flat, B, C, G, and I'll make a phrase out of it because the whole harmonic universe exists everywhere.
All over.
Everywhere.
Cool. Mimi, awesome. We delivered. I told them you'd play a ton, and think about what you're going to play us out. You can pick anything you want.
Okay.
But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank you for 97 thumbs ups. We've got 143 people watching right now, which is killer, from all over the world. Thank you for that support. We love you. Mimi loves you. And, it's you guys are really what it's all about. I'm sure there's 2 more people that can do a thumbs up and get us over 100. Sorry to be like a hawker.
No, it's okay. I love it.
Mimi will be back again. We will keep you posted on these 2 courses. They're very special. And what's crazy, man, is every time you come back in, now we're at 11.
Right.
We always do something new and fresh. And,
that's right.
And expand the library. We've never repeated ourselves ever.
No.
It's cool, right?
It's really cool.
Over all these
years.
And
also, Brad, may I take this time to thank you and Allie and Tommy, Jeff, Dan, everyone that was involved in this course, Ashley, everyone that has helped me out, and all the other folks at TrueFire Ren, everybody that is part of this amazing family. Because I come in and everything is just set up perfectly for me to come and do my thing. Because these are long days in the studio for me. I got to be on my game and
listen, and you're always prepared. There's never
that's my job. But wait a minute, this is about me thanking you guys, and I really do. It's been an amazing 15,
thank you,
17 years, however long it's been. So. Anyway, thank you.
We're at the point we don't want to tell them how long it's been. Okay?
Yeah, I know,
right?
It's true. Hey, Tommy, let's go out with the funk, the B flat funk.
I got it. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in,
guys.
and we'll see you next time.
1,